Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Secretary, I appreciate your being here, and you're here during a time where we can brag about what we've accomplished, which is a tax bill that's helping middle-class families throughout Ohio. Median income family in Ohio is getting another $2,000 a year on average. Wage growth is finally going up, not just in Ohio, but across the country. This is something we've all been waiting for a long time. In Ohio, it's been about a decade and a half. The wage growth last month, 3.4%. Inflation adjusted, by the way. So some of the numbers we heard a minute ago were not inflation adjusted. And yeah, I mean, here are the numbers. 1.7% average real, meaning inflation adjusted in this administration post the tax bill versus 0.6% during the Obama administration. That's reality. And now, again, we're finally seeing wages go up even higher, 3.4% last month, the highest over 10 years. And if you look at it over a year-long basis, it's also the highest since the Great Recession. So finally, we're getting the kind of wage growth that all of us have been waiting for, and people working harder, longer hours, and haven't seen the ability to get ahead. Now they're saying, yeah, finally we're beginning to see the benefits of good tax policy being spread more broadly. So I'm excited about it, particularly because if you look at it, it's the blue-collar workers who are getting the biggest benefit, right? The white-collar wages are not going up quite as fast. So this is exciting. I've been all around Ohio, as you know, doing these town hall meetings and talking to our small business community. Had a roundtable discussion a week before last, and I heard the same thing I've heard at the other 24 of them that I've done, which is every single business around the table is doing something to invest in their people or their plant and equipment. And to the point earlier about, you know, is this really going to result in more investment? Non-residential fixed investment, equipment structures, and so on, 7.2% annual growth rate in 2018, the highest since 2011. So this is the tail. This is the consequence of tax reform over time. Would you agree with that seeing the increased investment is going to be one of the major benefits of the tax reform?
Yes, I would agree with you.
When you look at the 199A pass-through issue, I heard earlier some of my colleagues talking about folks who are above the threshold getting too much of a benefit. I would make 2 points. One, that's about 4.9% of taxpayers. Number two, they only get a deduction when they do one of two things, right? Pay wages or make investments. Isn't that good?
That is good.
And if you look at the wage growth and you look at the investment growth, I mean, part of it is because you and we working together put together a pretty smart package on 199A. It's not perfect. Nothing is in this complicated tax code and complicated world we live in, but this has enabled us to be able to see higher growth, don't you think?
It is, and I want to personally thank you for the work that you've done in particular on this.
You and I worked a lot on the international side. Again, very complicated. I will give you a quote from a group that met in 2015, the International Tax Working Group. It said that tax reforms on the international side work best with a substantial corporate rate reduction and broader tax reform for all businesses, end quote. That was Chuck Schumer and Rob Portman. We were co-chairs of that task force. That's exactly what we did. And you know, you've worked with us on some issues, including the expense allocations issues under GILTI and other things, to try to be sure that we are getting these benefits broadly. But let me ask you this question. Do you think, as some of my colleagues have asked, when they talk about raising the corporate rate, I think if we took the corporate rate back up to, let's say, 28% or more, maybe even 35%, but let's say even 28%, do you think that would result in a new trend of foreign acquisitions and inversions that we saw happening before the tax bill?
Either that or, again, an additional slowdown in the economy.
Yeah. I mean, I look at the numbers. Businesses were being acquired, were inverting at a rapid rate, 3 times as many businesses being bought by others rather than the U.S. buying those businesses, and we've managed to reverse that and now have money actually flowing back in. 2 final questions quickly. One is with regard to IRS reform legislation. You know, I've talked about this before. I know you're generally supportive. The new commissioner now being in place and having, you know, gotten through the worst part of the tax season, and soon he'll be through it altogether. Do you think it's time for us to push IRS reform, as we talked about at the end of last year, to be able to make the agency work even better for taxpayers?
I do, and the commissioner and I would look forward to coming up and sitting down with you and going through that.
I think it'd be time, and one of the things that we have talked about, and I want to get your view on, is the IRS Oversight Board. It hasn't worked well. The administrations, and I would say the Obama administration most recently, but even the Bush administration did not embrace it as I'd hoped they would. The idea is that it gives strategic direction to the IRS to avoid some of the problems we're now seeing at the IRS in terms of taxpayer service and lack of direction on IP and investment in technology. Do you support the idea of an oversight board going back to its original intent?
I'd like to go through that with you and kind of weigh the benefits and the issues. Again, there's a difference between oversight and advisory, but again, I'd love to come and talk to you and we could discuss the benefits and the issues.
I think it's a matter of establishing a strategic direction that's consistent for the agency, and I would like to work with you on that. I hope you can give us some ideas of what kind of expertise you'd be looking for on perhaps a board that is more streamlined and more effective. The other one is retirement security. My time has expired, so I'll just ask you, for the record, if you could, just tell us what your views are on trying to move forward with a broader retirement package. We have RISA that we got so close to passing. We also have this issue of frozen defined benefit plans. The Retirement Security Preservation Act deals with that. We've got about 420,000 beneficiaries that stand to lose benefits this year alone if we don't deal with that. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on that at the appropriate time, and I will now, if you want to give an answer now, if the chairman will allow you, otherwise I have to yield back my time that I've already
I would just comment,
used too much of.
retirement savings is an important issue, and we look forward to working with you on it.